Okay, good morning, everyone. I think we'll just start. There's still a few people registering, but they can come in as we go. So, good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to this third EURASTiP capacity building workshop with as theme enhancing opportunities for mobility in aquaculture between Southeast Asia and Europe. We're very happy to see all of you here in the room together after all the email exchanges. In the last EURASTiP workshops, I've also always mentioned how many people we have in the room. And I'm happy to say we have like a steady increase in the number of countries represented and also participants. I think we have around 75 people this morning in the room, and about 20 different countries represented. So this is really truly an international workshop, and we're dealing with international topics, so really good. My name is Marieke Reuver, for the people who don't know me yet, and together with my colleague Jane Maher, you probably all met her at registration, we work for an organization called AquaTT, which is based in Ireland, and within the EURASTiP workshop, or within the EURASTiP project, we're dealing with education and training, through which framework this workshop is organized. I have to say I'm very excited about today's topic. It's something that's really close to my heart. I'm kind of a mobility program by myself, I would say almost. I've been doing several different internships at university. I studied at a different university than the country where I come from, and for the last almost 15 years, I've been working in a different country than where I come from and doing a lot of traveling. So I think this is a very exciting topic, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all the discussions. So I'd just like to give you a very brief background, context of the workshop. So it's organized within the framework of the EURASTiP project, and my colleague David will tell us a little bit more about the project after me. And within this project, we have a dedicated working group on education and training. And the aim of that working group is to consolidate existing European and Southeast Asian collaborations in the field of aquaculture, and also to enhance collaboration. And what we do is we do different activities. So, for example, innovative workshops like this one. We do exchanges and new material development, and I'll tell you a little bit more about these just very briefly. So as I mentioned already, this is the third and actually final capacity building workshop. The first one, or we did one on innovative teaching, and we did one on industry needs, so making sure that education is delivering people who are fit to work in the aquaculture industry. We're also implementing an educator exchange program. It's still running at the moment, but as we're nearing the end of the project, unfortunately we can't accept any more people. What we do have, though, is we have a lot of outputs from these exchanges, and you'll also hear about them today. We have several people that went on these exchanges, and they'll tell us about their experiences. But we also have reports about these, and also blogs and videos, and they're all publicly available for you to watch. We also are developing innovative training material based on outputs from the project, and John Bostock and Bernd Ubeschaar will tell us a little bit more about this later today. So looking at this specific workshop, it's about mobility. It's bringing together parties from Europe and Southeast Asia, and I think we've done a good job looking at the number of people here. And we're going to discuss trends and areas for strategic cooperation in the area of mobility in the aquaculture sector. So I'd just like to briefly go through the program with you today. We left the program on all the chairs. If you didn't get one, just let us know, and we might have a few extra copies left. I'll also bring it up here on the screen. Yeah. I hope all of you can see it. So as I mentioned, after me, David Bassett will explain a little bit about the EURASTiP project. After David, we have a session where we're discussing mobility looking at insights and stories more at a university administrative level. So we have invited 2 deans from Asian Fen, and from the European side we have people at administrative level working in the International Mobility Office. So they will tell us a little bit about their experience. Then we will have coffee at around 10:30. And after coffee, we'll have a panel session, which will be moderated by David. And here we will hear different stories more at an individual level. So people who went on educator exchanges, for example. And we have divided that in from academia to academia and also from academia to industry. After the panel discussion, we have after the presentations, we'll have a panel discussion. And this will be together with the speakers from the panel session, but also from the deans and administrators in the morning. And just to briefly explain to you, we have an online tool to facilitate discussions during these sessions. So of course you're very welcome to just ask your question, just plenary. But if you're a bit shy or you're not really sure, you can also submit your question on an online platform called Slido. And there's the website here. I don't know if you can see it. It's www.sli.do. You should all be able to connect to the internet, by the way. It's free Wi-Fi, Siri Pacific, so you should be able to do that. So once you go to this website, you have a code, a unique code for this workshop, which is #H863. So you can, if you want, you can already log in, and you can start asking questions as we go through the morning, and we will bring them up during the panel session. Then lunch will be around 12, and for that we go to a restaurant near the reception area, and I'll show you by that time. I think it's called Zende or something, but we'll show you. And then after lunch, we will have a little bit a smaller group, because in the morning we have the deans from Asian Fen here, but in the afternoon they will have their own meeting, so they will leave us. So we'll have a little bit a smaller group. And then first we will do some roundtable introductions. We'll explain then. We'll do a presentation on the training materials from EURASTiP. And then the rest of the afternoon will mostly be dedicated to working in interactive working groups. So we will be dividing you in 3 groups, and you'll be discussing for most of the afternoon. But again, I'll explain more by then. Okay, are there any questions now on the agenda part? So then I'll go back to the presentation. So just a few last practicalities. I would like you to ask you to please speak in microphones. So it's not only for the presenters, but also if you have any questions, we have roaming microphones. So please make use of these. We are quite a big group today, but it's also that we're being filmed, and it's really if you don't speak in the microphone, the audio will be quite bad on film. So it's important that you speak in the microphone as much as possible. Then also make sure you've signed everything. So we were asking you at entrance to sign an attendance list and also a speaker permission that you're being filmed. So please make sure you have signed both forms. And then again, here is the Slido code. I think I forgot the hashtag here. I think it's #H863. Okay, well, I hope you're going to enjoy today's discussion. I myself look very much forward to them. So I would like to give the floor to David for his presentation, please.
Marieke, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a particular welcome to the deans from ASEAN FEN who are joining us. We're delighted that as part of the EURASTiP project, you're able to come along this morning. The relationship with ASEAN FEN has been very important to ourselves and some of our colleagues within the project, so it's great that you're able to be here this morning. In the spirit of mobility, it says on the agenda that I'm from EATiP and from Belgium. Those of you with a keen ear for an accent will have detected I am not from Belgium. I'm actually from the United Kingdom, which is where I live and work. But our organisation is headquartered and registered in Belgium. I was only once mistaken for being Belgium, and that's because, again, in the spirit of internationalism, I was flying home from Vietnam on Air France, and with the shame of being British, we're famous for never speaking in a foreign language, I dutifully spoke in French to the staff on the plane and was told that I spoke French very well. And I thanked the lady for saying that. But with the French, you must always be careful. As the stewardess told me, Monsieur, vous parlez avec un petit accent belge. I spoke with a little Belgian accent. But I think that says more about the French than it says about myself or the Belgians. Anyhow, I'm here to give you a very quick little talk on the context of the project. And why we're here. We're a little bit short of time, so I won't go on in detail. But if you have any questions on the sort of thematic context of EURASTiP, that's a stack of my cards. I shall leave them there if you're too shy to come and ask me for a card. But do get in touch with me afterwards and get in touch with any of the more thematic questions that you might have. As I say, this is really to set in context of what we've been doing and where we are for those of you unfamiliar with our work. So we come together from the perspective of promoting multi-stakeholder contributions to international cooperation and sustainable solutions for aquaculture development in Asia, Southeast Asia. That's what EURASTiP is all about. I will start with a slide that might seem slightly left of field. What are multi-stakeholder contributions? I, as the agenda says accurately, come from EATiP. That's the European Aquaculture Technology and Innovation Platform, who's one of the project partners in EURASTiP. And what are technology platforms? For those of you who don't know, they are an initiative developed within the European Union as a vehicle to inform the European Commission and to inform the European Commission on the strategic research and innovation needs between academia and industry. And it was considered that perhaps not the best levels of prioritization were working in informing the European research agenda, and it was necessary for academia and industry to work more closely together. And over a period of a number of years, the principle of technology platforms was developed, and it was suggested to the aquaculture industry that an aquaculture technology platform should be formed. This was over 12 years ago now. And EATiP eventually came into being. We're one of a number of different technology platforms. There are some examples that have been given there. And a technology platform is made up of a number of different stakeholders. Those are the logos, are the ones that make up the aquaculture technology platform in Europe. And they're drawn from academia, from industry, and from associated other organisations. There's an Industry Producers Association that's a member, the European Aquaculture Society is a member, along with other more direct players. Within EATiP, we also have a number of mirror platforms, and that's a graphic of European states that have their own mirror platform. And mirror platforms operate at a national level as representative organisations of aquaculture stakeholders in their own country. And hopefully, as I very quickly run through this, it'll give you an idea of the umbrella nature of one organisation with other organisations feeding into it, with a number of smaller members, a number of other members feeding into them, so that the reach of the organization is broad and wide across the sector. And that's how we operate our aquaculture and innovation platform. There are about 800 aquaculture entities in total represented, about 65% of which are from the producer or supplying industry. Obviously, not every country is yet represented, but we're aiming at growing and expanding our network. So that's a little bit of context about where I come from and what's going on in Europe. Why am I mentioning all of that? To bring you on to EURASTiP, what our objective is, and introducing the concept of NPPs, the working name we given to national pilot platforms. So, as you'll have gathered, the European experience suggested that international cooperation and regional cooperation is best facilitated through multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder approaches with our technology platform and associated framework. And it was suggested that this working methodology and this vehicle would be well employed within Southeast Asia. And so we're addressing the potential for that multi-stakeholder approach to be operating within 3 partner countries across Southeast Asia: Thailand, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. And then, based on the experience with those 3 partner countries, the development of other multi-stakeholder platforms across Southeast Asia, all ultimately potentially coming together in a Southeast Asian technology platform that could operate with us at an international level. Why are we interested in doing that? The points are there on the right-hand side. About 70%, depending which statistic you believe, of European seafood is imported. The majority of that comes from Southeast Asia. Aquaculture will only become more important for us, and Southeast Asia is key, is identified as being key in providing that to us. The 3 client countries that we work with, partner countries that we work with, were chosen for long-standing historical reasons, with a long-standing relationship that we have with actors in those countries, and also because of the breadth and range of scope of species and husbandry systems that they operate. In terms of the practicalities of our project, those are the partners involved. It's a 3-year program. It comes formally to an end at the end of this year, which is slightly alarming for me as the project manager, because there's not much of this year left now, and there's a lot that we still have to do, and a lot of future work that we're now building towards. We're here particularly because we have a very good relationship with UMT, and thank you very much to Sunny, sitting in the front row modestly, who has helped very much with the facilitation of everything we're doing, along with partners in Thailand and Vietnam, who it's very good to see here again today, and representatives from the European side, particularly Ghent, Sterling and Wageningen, as the academic institutions, EAS, AquaTT and ourselves and EATiP. What we're looking at doing, as I mentioned, is the continuing development of the European platforms and the development of Southeast Asian platforms. Those, we have 3 now, imaginatively all ending up with the expression TIP for Technology and Innovation Platform, but we have those platforms in Thailand, Vietnam and Bangladesh. We, as part of our project conclusions, we'll be looking at what scope there is for the development of an Asian platform and how that can work with our own European platform and the mirror platforms that we operate through. In terms of some of the impacts we've had today, you'll be familiar with the innovation workshops that we're running, the 3rd of which is today. We've operated a funded exchange program, sending people from education, research and industrial fields from Asia to Europe and Europe to Southeast Asia. And we've had incredibly positive feedback about the very broad range of exchange programs that we've run. And we're very hopeful that in the future, some future form of exchange program will be facilitated again. We've undertaken a quantity of mapping of the key stakeholders across Southeast Asia and how they might feed into a strategic research and innovation agenda development. We've developed the platforms themselves. We've undertaken brokerage events, both within Europe and across Thailand and Vietnam, with a participating delegation from Bangladesh taking part in that as well. And we've looked at various cross-cutting issues that we have between the two regions, particularly in the areas of regulation and certification alignment. The Southeast Asian platforms have very much been in action. We've seen that through the process for getting delegates invited to participate in capacity building workshops, such as the one today on mobility. We've hosted brokerage events, the most recent of which took place in August and September in Vietnam and Thailand, with a number of delegates both taking part in our program and invited from the regions. And this included the encouragement and support of the European External Action Service, the European Commission's Foreign Office, for want of a better word, and particularly the trade delegation, who are very interested in the work we're doing, along with working with third-party organisations such as the Chambers of Commerce, and having our mirror platform participation in Europe. So 3 years on, and we've really begun to see a great development between the networks that we operate. So that's a very quick introduction just to the context of everything that's coming from. We're now in the process of putting together a future roadmap for where this project leads us, and those conclusions will be presented to the European Commission in Q1 of next year. Thank you very much for your participation in these workshops, because this gives us very valuable evidence of the impact and reach and significance that this project work happens. And particularly within the European Commission Directorate General for Research and Development, there is a real interest on the head of unit in the sector of education. And she will be taking a very personal interest in the events that take place at workshops like this. So thank you very much for your participation and your involvement. And for further details and contact, take a note of those details or take one of my cards away with me, so my luggage is a little bit lighter when I fly home. Thank you very much, and here's to a very productive day.